This is a quick rundown of evidence samples for the beyond anti-Semitic, repugnantly anti-women and children, and terrorizingly anti-American extreme hate group that has destroyed my life and family. This follows 3.5 years IP theft, and prior to that, back in 2009, a lawsuit from the utterly vindictive narcissist who my evidence will prove undoubtedly, as well as ties end to end through everything from tampering with my retirement through every stage of this ordeal to MO to contact lists, which I don't intend to share, to the psychotic pre-planning. I'm going to pick it up where the hate begins, which is following the 3.5 years IP theft. And this began over my mom's birthday weekend, just prior to this, when my partners were slow rolled their resignations out, which, yeah, my mom's birthday weekend, as sadistic date targeting is a rampant MO of theirs. So this is my co-founder, who at this point is still playing along in their triangulation, as though he's a victim as well. 4 mentions of how we must keep silent. Any action text conversations can be used as evidence, against them. And also acknowledgement of the IP theft, just to be clear. But when it rains, it pours. He's in Tennessee, a common MO as well. You see it right here. Now he's recovering with COVID. But again, going from forensics to the truth coming out and the threat that I'm going to regret it if I go after the nearly 500,000 401k I lost in the company as they sabotaged every effort and stole my IP. At that time, I had 12 million of IP I could prove beyond doubt, and 27 million I had attached it to. So again, targeting dates. This is on my birthday, with again threatening to take legal action if I dare file bankruptcy for the C Corp on the 401k. They also had a 1.3 million note that I'll get to as it was used as well. So this all came to a halt. Again, I had the 12 million IP theft, and on 3/12 of 21, I was drugged up for days and ended up in a sadistically premeditated plot that put me in a BH clinic where, along with a 3-day M1 hold, I was actually kept 5 extra days under false proxy. And while I'm not coming after the BH clinic, they're going to need to answer to that, why I was held in there. So, as with my intake, that Ted said I was using meth, which I was not, and my drug work shows that there's nothing on the 12 panel. It also shows that I definitely was drugged heavily. In fact, my white blood cell count is just about 0, so I don't know what they put in me, but I intend to find out. As to the work, the IP, no even stress factors reported by wife. Again, I didn't. There's information in there that I didn't do, like the intake on the meth. I don't believe for a second that my ex-wife would have said that. Same with the ADLs. I'm surprised she'd even know what those are. Those are daily living activities, like being able to brush teeth, get dressed. Here she says meth use, but as you see, her more common claim and with the police was drinking coffee. But you can see here, patient appeared calm and cooperative. So this is every day at the BH clinic as they kept me in there. And I would gladly share all of my BH records, as I was never diagnosed with anything other than mild depression, mild anxiety. But you also see too, and you might have to pause your screen on some of these, her acknowledgement of personal theft, not IP, but that should have at least been a stress factor. So much worse, the police intake, which, while there is a wrongfully filed complaint that ended up dropped, claiming I threw a lacrosse stick at my son that put me in there, you can see there's absolutely no report. The complaint, the police report, and BH all say there were never any prior incidents as well. But John believes the FBI and Republicans are after him, so he purchased a gun. I know that did not come from my ex-wife. And part of the reason I know that is her acknowledgement of the case, as she knew I was an informant. And to be very clear, while this is misconstrued, just as it has been throughout, I never reported on a personal level. I reported at the advice of my co-founder and his wife, who's also the main escalator in discovery, of their abuse in healthcare and later potential national security risk against our Navy. But I did not look at them as a personal attorney. However, there's acknowledgement. I know she didn't say that. Her dear friend, who's been so deeply involved and interjected, who lives an hour away and showed up in 15 minutes, I think is probably the one who added that comment in there. I also have texts with her saying prior that I was anti-Catholic, which is the epitome of anti-Semitism. So she is so deeply involved, bringing the fraud therapist in, so much more. Such an utter abuse through that one-off that I have her actually as part of the court case. So same thing with my divorce attorney. This is my second one. It's my first one bailed. I had the worst time. We do not need to go down this road because it involves the criminal case. So not only obstructing, but actually acting as though I have a case with the FBI. Again, I did not. I was an informant. I would never look at them as a personal attorney. And yeah, I think they're going to go down for domestic terror. So lots of theft going on with the attorney that I was reported. Oh, but importantly here, same with her attorney. There are no hard drives at John's house. So as you'll see, I was later accused of stalking with private videos, personal videos we had done that were consensual. That was then escalated into child porn that was planted, which I'll prove. You can see claiming everything was returned. So I never wanted a divorce. I have not been able to speak to my now ex-wife once since the start of this, when I was put in the institution, nor have I been able to speak to my youngest son once, and or see him, and that is nothing short of the fear of the Gestapo. But I never wanted a divorce. To this day, my son still blames me. I put together a 32-page document proving it. It's actually filled with evidence of collusion and such as well that I had shared with my now ex-wife, but couldn't be more clear than right there. And these you can just pause on. It gets into how they colluded, first forcing me to file on the threat of a permanent protection order and open lines of communication, and then claiming my ex-wife had felt our marriage was irretrievably broken after I put together all that. And you can see it here where they used just BS, psych stuff, and they're mental health experts. But again, irretrievably broken, and yet 3 weeks after she had first said it was irretrievably broken, according to her attorney, on 420 acknowledgement that she never wanted the divorce either. Whether she did or not, my son blames me to this day. That's severe child alienation, so I need to get answers. These are some of the issues going on in parallel, and as an important point to this, is the savings accounts. There's also education funds. So that's another thing. I proved both on the spot that I did not steal their savings nor their education funds. And to this day, my children still blame me as though I stole both. 2,500 theft from my individual account. And as a key one with their pre-planning, premeditation, while a bigger one is removing me from the mortgage 6 years prior to then using it to prevent access to the house at the Third Civil Assist through a quick claim, even though I got accused of stealing, like one other. I had been removed from our AT&T account, allowing my phone to be canceled. And as we'll see shortly, she continued to send text messages, which I know actually weren't her, because not only were they sent to friends, one of which I know of, and tried to get the attorneys to contact, there were text messages sent to me supposedly from her. So again, while she hasn't talked to me in all these years once, the notion that she would be texting me illegally doesn't make sense. But more, she's an excellent writer, used to write for CEOs, and knows AP inside and out. And from a linguistic standpoint, forensics, there are grammatical errors, and it's not up to her vocab. So this is building up to the forced bankruptcy. Again, forced divorce, now forced bankruptcy. The first thing being, as I just showed here again, the complaint had been dropped, but it didn't stop them from expanding it. And I wanted to know the neighbors, the high school. I contacted the high school. They said in no way. They were actually appalled But it didn't stop them from expanding. And as a means to beat the wrongful sanctions, their idea was to get a psychiatrist who would claim delusion and put me on medication, which I refused. And again, because my parents were helping me with the attorney fees, my refusal here was a major factor in forcing the bankruptcy, as they were just furious I wasn't listening to attorneys. But I refused to, and just to sum up on this, he wrote up a big report on delusion, tried to put me on Vraylar, which is a black label medication for bipolar. And as part of that warning, it says it's specifically not even for use with dementia. Another key factor on that is the fact that Vraylar is known to very greatly reduce white blood cell count, which again, as he had my blood work from the initial admitting, if he didn't know I was drugged, then he was trying to kill me. So this psychiatrist I'm not coming after. I expect a confession, and with that, I want to know what I was drugged with when I was admitted to the clinic, because it was something very extreme. So in parallel, the threat again of a permanent protection order, just like with the divorce, and you can see a delay in it. I still wasn't even aware at this time. I didn't find out till 3/4, but delaying it till 3/7, which is also the same day as my dad's birthday, so heavily targeted every year. But also the same day I ended up finally giving in and filing divorce or bankruptcy, and the very next day dropped the TPO. An important point here I'm going to get into later is that for the next year, I didn't even know I would have been allowed to contact my son. There was so much going on. My attorneys tricked me. And if you think about that with the fraud therapists, it's actually a lot worse because it opened the door. And while they're mental health experts, but even from a basic standpoint, gee, your dad could contact you anytime, and I guess he chooses not to. So again, the child alienation is beyond sick. So as I said, I gave in and filed bankruptcy on March 7th. On August 8th, they filed an adversarial complaint. And an important point in here is that they stole the house through a false POC. And it was a $1.3 million inchoate claim. I tried to get answers from the attorneys. Initially, they said it was the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of fraud theft claims that my wife had submitted to Wells Fargo, which I followed up with Wells Fargo, and they were all denied because you can't steal from your own account because it was a joint account. And they changed that to be the $1.3 million that my partners owed, which obviously she wouldn't have had a full claim to that. So again, stole my house, and as I'll get to at the end, it seems they've stolen it from her as well. But I haven't talked to her. I don't know. You can read through this. This is just an update to my public defender who dropped me just before this, which I'm going to touch back on the first one here with the child alienation. This is the second one, and I just put this in here just as something you can pause on to see just some of the other issues that I can prove. The anti-Catholic from the dear friend who I believe did the anti-FBI claim as well. Again, she showed up at our house 15 minutes, lives an hour away on the day I was admitted. This is the friend, as I mentioned, with the cell phone being canceled. This is my buddy who was getting text messages from her. So he's known as a gossiper. Love the guy. But he's the one friend who for a year my ex-wife never contacted and had seen a ton of evidence, as well as was getting these text messages claiming to be me. We discussed it and never got addressed. But as it turned out, he ended up just totally turning against me after seeing all this because he loves to gossip. And again, I'm not trying to rip on him, I'm talking about how deep their expertise is and how targeting, because I know that's why she didn't contact him. She contacted everyone else. But again, someone posing as her, I know it wasn't her sending those text messages to him or to me. This is a victim impact statement from the dear friend I mentioned on the one-off with her, who's been so heavily involved. I consider her part of the core group. but why she's writing the victim impact statement for my ex, I don't know. Some of the other false claims, money laundering, there's tax evasion. It's just ongoing, ever escalating. And all these things were actually crimes against us, but I can prove were false, like the money laundering. Also, an important point where she's throwing in there's only one video. I'm looking at the camera. I'll get back on that in a sec with the change of stories to prove that those videos were consensual. Capitalizing, he downloaded these young girls. That's involved with the porn. Why is she capitalizing that? Of course he did if I was guilty. But, yeah, anyway. New social security numbers, having to change my name, bank account. I don't believe she did any of that. And very importantly, the last page, all the inflictions that I was claimed to have inflicted on her, which is mental health experts, they know they inflicted on her. A major one being panic attacks. So my wife's ex-wife's chronically ill, and they know as a severe anxiety disorder. That means it's perpetual stress, which means they're knowing and intentionally killing her. And I have much more evidence to prove they are if she lets me. So getting into some of the defamation and other events, waiving the preliminary hearing. The reason I wanted to point this one out is the DA forced me to continue to be able to discuss a plea, and I wanted to have the hearing because my stalking case would have been thrown out. The videos were beyond the statute of limitations anyway, and the porn was an immense broken chain of custody found by my co-founder's wife, who obviously my ex-wife should have never been giving the devices over to them, who stole everything. But like I said, I have a master's in information security, and I know those videos were backdated to 2009 on the drive they were found on, which was a drive that I had my lawsuit info on and other work stuff, as well as other things. But I know they were planted there and backdated. The vindictive narcissist knows it as well, as he would never set himself up, as one thing we know about narcissists are all about self-preservation. So I'm not going to go any deeper. But as far as the motion to appear via WebEx, I want to see this motion, and I want to see, does the judge actually know the DA forced me to waive the hearing, or does the motion say something else like they did? Because that's how they manipulate. So this is when I lost my hired attorneys, as the first plea attempt I was forced into. While they dropped the charges, they still had me guilty of restitution and everything. Complete malicious prosecution by my own attorneys. Forced me to public defender. More is the targeting with the dying to know the trustee. So this is a bankruptcy trustee. You can see in here why they're saying he might not even care about forcing the sale or about the house. So this is actually forwarded to me much later when I got it. This isn't to me. I got it much later, but as a quick point, I never wanted to force the sale. One thing I was adamant, and I have emails, is I wanted my family to be able to stay in the home. And just like when I had no way to end the divorce because of the no contacting ability and canceled mediations, for which they canceled 4 of the attempts, and it was the 5th mediation attempt that was court ordered when the stalking charges came up. Yep. And in any event, I had offered her even half my inheritance from my parents as a means to try to settle. So I can show to a heavy extent. But an important point on that is that while they made it appear the retiring trustee, who they actually went with, is also retiring, it's just come to light that it seems she's actually a key player. So support from the defamation or the officers. Again, this was 2 civil assists I was accused of stealing at. Never got answers. I ended up emailing the sheriff directly, as well as those officers. You can read through that. It's very heavily detailed, but as an important point, I don't believe he ever got it. And again, I have event viewer logs from the breaching prior right through to when I was under surveillance, like here, and can show the very exact same patterns and such as this, where While this is a private or a personal email account, personal computer, blocked by a server, I shouldn't be connected to a server. They are blocking emails. There's a whole lot more to come from their forensics evidence. Again, I have a master's in information security. They're toast on that, but I'm not going into here. 126. This is when the stalking stuff was initially reported, right before the forced bankruptcy. Again, in parallel, and as an important point. Never would have consented to any such videos, photos of this nature. Did not know John took any such videos. So the one hard drive that I knew of containing the videos was returned to me 6 weeks after I got out of the BH clinic. And I let the officer know that, just as I let her know that there are at least 10 videos she was looking at and photos, which misconstrued. That's what I had said. And acknowledgement of the FBI. And in any event, complete denial. And then on 2-5, the follow-up after my call when I told him that, to the change. Well, there was one time many years ago, she was irate. So how do you go from never knowing anything about those to changing? And there's so many inconsistencies through discovery that it's not even clear if my children were present or not. That's how bad it is. So you can see I'm below the legal limit. This is the heavily colluded false DUI. The videos show it all from the entrapment. I never go out anymore. Probably went out 4 times that year. That happened to be one of those when I went to a concert, but I still only had 1 beer, and it's shown. So they expected me to be drunk. I wasn't, and they gave me a DUI anyway. And it gets much, much worse. The videos show it all, including the broken chain of custody with blood and the fireman bleeding me out, who I don't think is at all involved, of course, but I'm sure was more along the line, since he's right on the dash cam, of, hey, this guy's a pedophile, let's have some fun with him. For all I know, the officers gave me the DUI because of the background, too, after a call-in. But everything is shown in the video. So 7/29, I was arrested. You saw the 1/28, but on 7/29, arrested as a fugitive from justice at my place of work on file with the court in Forsyth, Georgia, where I'd been living for 2 years. And that happened to be the Friday right before my Monday court hearing for the DUI. Missed it. And as they maximized pain, suffering, and torture, they kept me in jail 35 days, resulting in a failure to appear as well from the 30-day window. So as to keeping me in jail for 35 days, from a defamation standpoint, my attorneys blamed Forsyth, which we know if that was the case, it'd just be more obstruction from my attorneys. I know bail was never requested, but again, blaming Forsyth. There's actually 6 counties laid out in this. So also, as far as the case, like I said, the videos are extremely clear. This picked up a week after I was put on probation, which was 6/5. It all of a sudden restarted. And these are all my attempts to try to represent pro se, right down to 9/11, which was a substitute judge, but I had brought a bunch of child alienation. I also filed it with the court as to why I needed to be at the 9/15 restitution hearing. He wouldn't even look at it per the DA's insistence. And so I couldn't get to my restitution hearing as planned. And couldn't get an extension there either. So just as a quick point, I'm going to talk more on that, but as a quick point, my case was held till March 6th of 23 by private attorneys. So again, from a defamation standpoint and timing, it did sit for a year almost with private attorneys before it was then revamped on 6/5. So again, this is trying to get the request for continuance. Judge wouldn't allow me. I had been trying as well to get the restitution hearing on 9/15 moved. And you can see, just got this on 9/13. Again, the hearing's 9/15. I had actually talked to her all the way back at the beginning of September when the judge talked about that for a trial. And I had been clear, didn't expect the 9/11 hearing to carry forward either, though, admittedly. But trying to get the continuance. And then on 9/14, I ended up getting out of my hearing very early. It was supposed to be the trial starting, and the judge just out of the blue continued it. So I got out, went home, bought a plane ticket, and at 1:07, let her know that I would be there the next day, so don't worry about the continuance. Told me at 1:09 she submitted it. Went back and forth. I told her, why can't she just tell them to cancel it, not going back and forth? So I said, let me know either way ASAP by 1:25. And at 5:05, she finally told me as I was on my way to the airport. Ended up burning a same-day ticket. And just want to point that out as that's how they maximize pain, suffering, and torture every step of the way. So couldn't even give me an answer. And then going on to the in parallel transfer denial. So I was denied my probation transfer denial 3 times in Georgia. I had been living there almost 2 years, and it was one of 3 key requirements in the plea, the other 2 being no jail, no sex offender, and all these denials. And as you can see on the second one, the first one is so vehemently worse. It's the county where I got the DUI. And we'll talk about that as I was living with my sister. But I then rented an apartment, and because they wouldn't accept me there in Woodstock, and was told I was denied there. I actually went out to probation, both felony and misdemeanor, and there it was never requested. Got the letter on October 3rd. I let them know. Didn't stop my public defender, though. Got this update from probation. So you can see on October 11th, after I already showed it was never requested, my probation officer, who apparently it switches to interstate compact probation officer. We'll get more into that. And all the way on 9/20. So again, I showed it was never even requested. They should have allowed me back to Georgia. This is going to my rescheduled DUI trial, and not allowed to leave for the hearing. And then, of course, trying to get the transcripts. So, again, I was forced back, 10/5, put on drug testing for this. And as you can see, I've been getting drug tested left and right, 12/27, 12/29, 1/2, 1/12. That's 4 tests in just over 2 weeks. This was a heavy period, but you can see I'm getting tested for both. So this is a DUI. This cost me $100 a test that I'm already getting done. And on 1/25, same day, having to go into this one. Huge issue of cost and stuff. Been going on since October. I did finally get to start my DV class that was delayed through all those probation transfer denials. Again, remember, I took the plea 428, was forced back 6/5 for the restitution, and finally got to start my class. And then on December 18th, I had gotten a call and was able to switch to a night class, which I said okay. It was a different instructor. And all of a sudden this guy tells me, gee, with your misdemeanor DV, we can't handle your type. So they dropped me. They just dropped me. And now I need $350 to start again. So here I am getting drug tested, nothing done with DV. And that institute is going to need to explain why I was dropped from that class. So also with my tax attorney, you can see on 2009 there are a ton of references to that year of the porn. And I also have emails from her pertaining to all the out-of-scope work looking at those lawsuits. So that's a huge abuse of the power of attorney. But she also had the audacity to bill me for it. Again, the IRS wouldn't even care about that year. So speaking of the IRS, on 12/25/23, letter from the IRS. It's Christmas. $60K, the unpaid tax penalties. So again, forced into bankruptcy for $150 credit card debt, $60K tax penalties. I had a $1.4 million home, well over $2 million in assets, even with the $500,000 lost and forced to file. They never even paid my damn penalties. So this is going to turn into IRS fraud, I'm sure, but this is what I mean about the trustee being involved, and there's much more to come on that as a current issue I'm dealing with right now. And you can see all the way back in March 2nd it was supposed to be paid. It's actually supposed to be paid sooner. Moving on to the fraud therapist. He's not even a qualified healthcare practitioner. The court had no business to place as a barrier between my children and I. He's also the number one person I intend to lock away for life, so I'm not going into any more detail. But I am going to stop him from ever harming another child. He is beyond sick. And so trying to get in touch with him still, as well as in line with the threat of the permanent protection order. And then, so like I said, on March 7th, I was forced into the bankruptcy of 222. And on March 8th, the TPO was dropped, where for a year I could have contacted my children. I finally found out a year later, after an event on March 7th, that I'm saving for the case. And learning about it was immediately transferred in collusion to the criminal attorneys. And what's even worse is this ended up banning me from talking to my eldest son as well. So these are false claims covered as witnesses. Again, this is going into finding out that for a year I could have been contacting my younger son. And yeah, there's more to come on that. Also, blocking me on the home. Again, I was removed from the mortgage 6 years prior and blocking me out of the house. But going back to this, on 4-3, so again, the trial is 4/28. On 4/3, I'm begging, I need to talk to my kids, and asking for the witness list ASAP. Well, they're not on the NPO, but they're witnesses in your criminal case. This actually goes this way, but whatever. You can read through it. And banned. So 4/28, forced into the plea. I brought it up with the child alienation and talking with the public defender. We both agreed that would be the key argument, and never got a response. And the substitute DA also lied about it horrifically, giving me the 6 weeks court-driven alienation, quick points from my defamation against the son, my co-founder's wife, and stuff I love about you, but now my mom is homeless, like I said. Phone may, the house may have been stolen from her, it seems. And then this is a dear friend of mine who also has screwed me over. He doesn't even live in the same state, so no, I hadn't been going to concerts with him. This is a quick overview of the evidence of the hate case against us.